Hi, good morning, and I'd like to welcome you back to Poem Praise 2. And certainly peace and blessings be upon you. We are going to get into the book, The Black Man's, no, The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man by Miss Ali. This take is going to be the foreword. You see, previous vid was rear view. Interesting. Now let's go forward. Okay? And it goes like this. While the scabs on the wounds inflicted by the black man's guide to understanding the black woman are barely healed, we now embark on the second phase of the purification process to expose and dissolve selected behaviors that destroy love and stifle respect between blacks. Of course, it is impossible to include in any writings all of the idiosyncrasies of 30 million African Americans. This makes it difficult to access specific conditions because of their resemblance to stereotypical accusations. Insistence that both sides of the story, the good and the bad, be told simultaneously further complicates any effort to address problems which, by virtue of importance, have isolated priority. The need to explore all aspects of black life is overwhelmingly welcome, unless the exploration points the finger at individuals guilty of creating the problems by how they behave. It is extremely important for the reader to understand clearly that the sole purpose of this study is to continue to examine the underlying cause of animosity between black men and black women. It is not an attempt to insult or publicly ridicule the black man, nor should it dismiss as superficial or typical male bashing. Recent experience have proven that confronting brutal truths about personal motivation is painfully embarrassing and usually met with gross denial. Many of the segments in this book contain information that appears to be rival, or contradict data presented in the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. This is done intentionally to reveal concurrent opposing behaviors between black men and black women, which ironically accelerate the demise of an already fragile union. Regretfully, a recent University of Chicago study concluded that by the year 2000, 70% of black men will be unemployed, on drugs, in jail, or dead. The predictions have grim and seem self-fulfilling. The background reason for this sad reality, all provable, are the blood-curdling events of slavery, lack of opportunity, poor education, drugs, bad breaks, and setbacks. These obstacles are 100% the responsibility of the perpetrators who created and foster specific systems of human dejection. This misery is referred to in the African American experience as racism or outside intervention. A root cause of the resultant discontent inside the tattered community is the disorganization of the shattered black family. This secondary aspect of the problem, according to frustrated members of the group, is the failure of black men to accept and deliver on their obligations as husband, provider, and father. Decidedly, the black woman has failed miserably on the home front. Many months have been spent aggressively attempting to appease black women about how the failure manifests. Predictably, this deduction was not accepted, happily. Pedestals topped and were replaced with sobering realities. Complicated unpleasantries were acknowledged to pave way for progress. Now, on the flip side of this dreadful predicament, the black man must now study and recognize the mismanagement of his masculine authority. His blunders, as colossal and unintentional as his woman's, equally splinter the black household. As head of the black nation in America, whether he admits it or not, the black man is solely responsible for any liabilities existing among black women and black children. Reportedly, the black man has never taken proper charge of his own life, the life of his woman, or his children's. He has allowed himself to be overwhelmed by the strong wording of contemporary opinion and the unpopularity of addressing his own needs. All of the crises of racism have become a convenient crutch he leans on to explain his perpetual crippled leadership in and out of the house. While many of his negative habits are merely reactions to the ill-fated approaches of his woman and his mother, this has already been discussed in the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. This new study is devoted entirely to the greater problem: the irresponsible leadership of black men and how they got to be that way, and how they got to be the way they are. Correct that. Although this book does not cover every aspect of African American history, it does include factors contributing to the decline of black man's leadership potential. It also explains how black male teens, unfamiliar with past and modern history, become displaced and reckless in the world. This book is merely a mirror, a galloping of reflective account of the black man's last 19 decades in America. It chronicles condensed events and trends ordinarily unknown, which must be considered when dealing with him and making judgments about his condition. His mind was tampered with, and brainwashing schemes must be discussed and understood. As before, I do not expect all black men to accept the accuracy of this report, but mass denials among them must not constitute cause to reject or disbelieve the contents of this work. Public confession is not necessary for improvement. Readers must realize that here is a man who claims he is victimized by entrenched racism, slanted justice, media attack, multiple drugs and accessible weapons, compounded with charges of genocidal conspiracy out to destroy him. Yet he has done little to ward off the results of such conclusions. He has been screaming foul for umpteen years, trying to bring attention to his unfair treatment. And he now dizzily wanders around crying racism at the slightest provocation, but still swears that the possibility of a diverse multicultural society exists. This book contains new perspectives. The suggestions made are not written to endorse or promote negative racism. Instead, they prove historically that the only successful multicultural society is one where each race retains economic and spiritual individuality. Anything else creates confusion and resentment between nationalities, and subsequently has landed the black man in his present predicament, endangered, and some say unhelpable, due to his insistence of doing things his own way, the wrong way for his survival. His pride is tissue paper thin, blowing in the wind. Hopefully, every black man will read this text and voluntarily place his nose to the grindstone of reconciliation with his manhood and proper evaluation of his political dreams. He must commit to save himself at any cost, with minimum tears and moderate ego damage. False pride and stubbornness have no place when one is contending for self-preservation. And yes, the effects of slavery still rank as number one in the dismemberment of black home and displacement of the black man. But the number two problem stems from contributory neglect of an internal nature that takes the form of A. Disunity, B. Distrust, and C. Bad choices. Tragically, the number one problem cannot be reversed, but number two can be repaired. This is not shifting the burden, just smoothing it out a little to make it more manageable for correction. Black man, I have faith in you. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Ali. And may peace be upon you this day, and have a blessed day. I'll give you a preview because we're going to be going into chapter 1 next. And chapter 1 is titled Babyhood and Puberty. And on that, I will talk with you soon, if it be thy will. And later, y'all.